Hello, my name is Paige Edwards, and my first semester biology exam video is about 2 ways in which humans negatively impact ecosystems. The first event that I'm going to talk about is littering. Littering is a serious problem because people don't take it seriously, although it has horrific effects on animals that stumble upon trash that infest their habitats. The 2010 BP oil spill also greatly hurt both land and marine animals. The millions of gallons of oil spilled in the Gulf disrupted the food chain for marine animals and left birds and various other species covered in gooey thick oil. Both events affect millions of animals, disrupt ecosystems, and are caused by humans. Littering is an all too common practice for Americans. Plastic shopping bags, cigarette butts, gum wrappers, and plastic bottles are all common pieces of litter that find their way into the homes of many animals. It's easy to be lazy and just toss a piece of trash on the road or the sidewalk without evaluating the consequences of one seemingly small action. However, the decision to throw a cigarette butt out your car window could mean life or death for an unsuspecting animal that walks up and sees it as potential food. When polled, 75% of Americans admitted to littering at least once in the past 5 years. If each person threw out just one tiny piece of trash into the environment, it would add up to tons of garbage that ruins the natural habitats of both land and marine animals. Not only is littering illegal, but it simply ruins ecosystems and is expensive to clean up. Humans should respect the animals they share the planet with and choose to put trash where it belongs, which is a garbage can. The health of marine animals suffers when they mistakenly eat litter that has made its way into their habitat. When sea animals ingest plastic, it makes them very sick. Turtles are known to mistake plastic bags or balloons for jellyfish, which causes them to die from all of the plastic in their stomachs. Sometimes seabirds eat things like plastic buoys, which resemble fish eggs and crustaceans. Baleen whales feed on krill by swallowing a large amount of water and filtering it through their baleen. Plastic occasionally gets in through their filter and causes them to die a slow death because the plastic in their stomach prevents food from digesting. If an animal like the seal in the picture in the bottom left corner were to get tangled in a fishing net by accident, it could very likely drown. The plastic that comes from when you break apart a six-pack of cans is especially dangerous for marine animals. Dolphins, turtles, seals, and other animals are known to get their heads stuck in one of the rings. It is very important to break the plastic rings apart before disposing of them to prevent potential animal deaths. When animals get caught in fishing lines or nets, it restricts their ability to swim and move, resulting in starvation and death because they cannot swim after prey. Dolphins.org says that 43% of marine mammal species and 44% of all seabird species become entangled in or ingest marine debris each year. Many deaths and injuries could be prevented by simply using a trash can instead of littering. Litter not only affects marine creatures, but land wildlife as well. Many people think it is okay to throw out food products from their car windows because they are biodegradable. However, biodegradable litter like apple cores and banana peels attract animals to the roadside and therefore increase the probability for the animal to be hit by oncoming traffic. In other cases, litter like mason jars have gotten stuck on animals' heads like the possum in the picture. They find the jar and stick their head in order to lick out any remaining contents and find themselves trapped and unable to get unstuck. This creates a long, slow death as a result of not being able to feed itself. When people don't dispose of batteries properly, animals will eat them and get mercury poisoning. Animals can also be cut by broken glass from bottles that people have broken and failed to clean up. Plastic grocery bags can entangle animals and can also be eaten by them, which is unhealthy. The picture of the dead albatross bird shows the huge amount of litter it had ingested. This next video from an Animal Planet commercial shows a situation where a leopard can't catch its prey because of litter in its habitat.
Don't you just hate it when someone else's rubbish ruins your lunch break?
The second negative effect that I'm going to talk about is the 2010 BP oil spill. The BP oil spill in 2010 had enormous effects on wildlife. Their habitats were flooded with the thick oil. The busted oil rigs spewed out millions of gallons daily and a big part of the Gulf of Mexico was covered in the dark brown substance. When the oil met with animals, the reaction was oftentimes deadly. Birds with oil on their feathers were weighed down and prevented to fly. Turtles were washing up dead on shore, and even little hermit crabs were getting stuck in the sand trapped in the goo. Humans' desire and need for oil was the cause of this environmental disaster. The BP company apologized for its negligence and attempted to rehabilitate some of the affected habitats, but the damage was already done on both the waters and the shores of the Gulf of Mexico. On April 20th, 2010, the oil rig called Deepwater Horizon sprung a leak. This rig, owned by the British Petroleum Company, also known as BP, leaked for 3 whole months before it was finally capped. The spill is considered the worst in history of the petroleum industry. The explosion killed 11 workers and injured 17 more. The final estimate of oil leaked was about 5 million barrels. The spill had incredible effects on tourism, industry, and especially land and marine wildlife. This next video depicts what happened to the Deepwater Horizon and how BP brainstormed on how to cap it.
When the drilling rig was operating, a long pipe called a riser carried oil from the wellhead on the ocean floor, 1,500 meters below. But when the rig sank, it dragged the riser with it, bending and twisting the pipe across the seabed. Inspections have revealed 3 known leaks, now pouring out up to 5,000 barrels of oil every day. BP hopes to stop the leaks by using robot submarines to close a massive shut-off valve on the wellhead. But so far they've been unsuccessful. A second option is to construct a large dome structure that could be lowered above the leaks. Oil would collect under the dome and then could be piped up to ships on the surface. Another option is to drill 1 or more relief wells nearby. This could squeeze shut the leaking well, but drilling the new wells could take several months to complete, and that's time nobody can afford.
The spill affected animals all the way from the top of the food chain to the bottom. Little hermit crabs even felt the effects. These burrowing creatures had trouble digging through the oil down into the soil where they live. They also frequently got stuck attempting to walk in the sand when there were oil puddles. Sea turtles were affected in a major way as well. Not only grown sea turtles, but even turtles that had not even hatched yet and were still in eggs were harmed. Volunteers moved many turtle nests in an effort to preserve as many as possible. Sea turtles would die when oil would get in their eyes, lungs, or on their skin during the period when they would come up to the surface to get air. Diane Ingram, a biologist for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, stated that turtles suffered also because of the fact that their food source was scarce due to the oil. Birds felt the oil spill more than any other species. When oil and water mix, they produce mousse, which sticks to feathers. Air spaces in the bird's feathers act as insulation, but when filled with oil, they cannot insulate properly. Therefore, the bird can suffer from hypothermia and die. When birds try to clean the oil out of their feathers, they could be poisoned, which could also result in death. The extra weight from the oil could also make it harder to escape from predators. If enough oil was on their feathers, they could potentially drown from the extra weight. Thankfully, some birds were saved and cleaned by volunteers, but most were not that fortunate. The next 2 videos show the effects of the oil spill on birds and volunteers' efforts to save as many as possible.
When oil sticks to a bird's feathers, it causes them to mat and separate, impairing waterproofing and exposing the animal's sensitive skin to extremes in temperature. This can result in hypothermia or overheating. Instinctively, the bird tries to get the oil off its feathers by preening, which results in the animal ingesting the oil, causing damage to internal organs. A bird must preen constantly to make sure its feathers are properly aligned, so that it is buoyant and insulated from the cold.
In the end, humans need to work to protect natural ecosystems. We share the planet with animals too, so their homes deserve respect. Through littering and spilling oil, we disrupt their natural habitats and destroy the lives of many species.